Thanks. Thanks, Yvonne.
Are live.
Okay, roll call.
Yes, please, Michelle.
Carrie,
Here.
Ginger, Linda. She's on.
Here, sorry.
Bill, Laura, Anna Mara, Jerry. Here, I know you're there. Annie, Tessa, and Pam.
Here.
Okay.
So do we have a quorum?
1, 2, 3. No. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we have, and Tessa is here.
I am, sorry. My
Hi,
computer.
Tess.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, you do have a quorum.
Okay, we're good
Okay.
to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But we don't have SG folks yet, I don't think. So we'll just wait a little bit longer. They were going to, so the purpose of our meeting today really is just to kind of get an update from SG Collaborative. They were nice enough to join us to answer our questions as they relate to all things that the Green Space Advisory Commission might be concerned about. So I was really glad they were wanting to join us. And they're in the process of planning. I think it's a long way, correct me if I'm wrong, Yvonne, but I don't think, the city hasn't really responded to this plan yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. So it's pretty early on in the process.
Yes.
So I think this will just be a chance for us to ask questions as it relates to that green space. And they did, I hope you guys all saw, they sent us a tree inventory document and some information surrounding the trees that exist, the trees that are going to be removed, and their sort of summary analysis of that information. So hopefully someone from Loomis who did that inventory will be on and we could ask them any particular questions we have about the inventory. Any particular things we have.
Yes, these folks are all on here. I just can't see them. Okay.
Hi, this is Amanda from Seneca. I think
Yeah,
the
we're-
development team's here. We're just all
on.
muted.
Yeah, we're on. We can see you, but you can't see us.
Can't see you.
Okay, I think we have everyone unmuted now.
This is Larry and Amanda. I can see all of you, and I know our team is on here somewhere. We've just been listening to you talk.
I see your names in our attendees list. If you guys want to go look at the attendees versus the panelists, you can see Amanda, Larry, Joel, Liz, Rusty, Saunders, and then there's a phone number in there. But I'm sure we can let you guys introduce yourself. My name is Carrie Coyne, and I'm the chair of the Green Space Commission for the city. We've got several Green Space Commission folks here. And Michelle and Yvonne and Scott and Pam are here from the city. And Yvonne is our city liaison, and Pam Bliss is our city council representative. So we really appreciate you guys coming out here today to meet with us. And we appreciate the opportunity to ask questions and have you answer questions as well. So this is an official Green Space Advisory Committee meeting, and it is being recorded. I don't think we have any other attendees on the line today, so it's just our committee members at this point and folks from the city. Other than that, I think I'm not sure, Liz, if you want to take over from here, you can.
Sure.
Hi, Carrie and Commission. Thank you for having us here with you today. So we do have the SG Collaborative, members of our SG Collaborative team. So as you mentioned, Larry Chapman, who I can actually see, wave Larry. I believe Phil Hulse is on the line as well. That's probably the phone number. Amanda Auer with SG Collaborative and Rusty Saunders with Loomis. So we are really here, as Carrie noted, we're still early in the process and have several more steps to take with the city to get to where you guys probably really want to ask specific questions. But we're here to listen today and gather your concerns and answer what we can at this point. So at that I'm going to let Larry take it over.
Yeah, I mean, hi, everybody, and I appreciate, getting on here. I guess my first question for your group, just to be helpful to us, is I'm not sure I understand what the role of your commission is. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of work with the city. Are you part of the city? Are you a city-appointed commission? I guess I don't really know. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about the commission.
Yes, we are a city-appointed commission. We have, I think, eight members right now, but we are on the commission. It's much like the Parks Commission. Their concern is Parks and Recreation and how there's sort of another set of eyes, right, for those kind of projects that are happening with the city. So the Green Space Commission, our focus is really on public spaces that don't necessarily fall within the parks, which there are quite a lot of them in the city, public right of way, these kind of natural areas. And we basically, it's sort of our mission to look out for those spaces, for the city to kind of be stewards of those spaces and to advise the city on those things. So
that's helpful. I mean, when we started down this path, we did a little homework. We realized there are certain bits of information that the city's going to need to evaluate the development plans that we're going to present. One of which is to do a tree study, which we did, and we engaged Loomis and Rusty Sanders to go out and collect that information. But other than collecting that and comparing it to an early plan, none of which has been approved yet, that's all we've really done is identify and do what the ordinance requires in terms of information providing. There may be more that needs to be done, and if you share that with us, we're happy to follow up on it. But I don't think we're going to have much in the way of answers. However, Rusty is here. If you have questions about what he found and that kind of thing, that's fine. We haven't taken it to the level of what we're going to do next yet,
Yeah, that makes sense. You're early on in the process. And I would love, I guess, to hear from Rusty just generally about that tree inventory. We are pretty passionate about the green infrastructure of the city. And trees play a really critical ecological role in all of our lives, and they add considerable monetary value to our properties. And, the trees of our community are really one of the reasons people love Webster, right? These old, beautiful trees. And all of us, I think, on the commission have watched development happen around us, infill development, which is great, kind of bringing up the value of the properties around us. But we've been losing a lot of mature trees due to that development. And I think we're just really concerned about all the mature trees that are going to be lost. And I know, they're not of the highest quality out there, but they do have a value, a monetary value. I know that's considered in the inventory that Loomis prepared, but there's also a, green infrastructure value that isn't accounted for in that plan. So those are the kind of things we're thinking about, and we want to, I don't know, it would just be.
I'm happy to have Rusty talk about what he found and what he's going to do about it. But I'll tell you, from my perspective is when you do major redevelopment, even if you attempt really, really hard to save healthy trees, the disturbance is usually too much and they eventually die anyway if they're within a certain area of the redevelopment. Just you've upset the ecosystem to the point where that's going to happen. And so when we do something like this, what we're going to focus more on is how do we re-vegetate the area in a way that's really meaningful. I mean, I would really suggest to you at one point before Webster was beautiful, it was demolished, people planted trees, and now they're beautiful old trees. And we have to keep that process up. I mean, I look at my yard and we had some bug come through and killed a bunch of trees. We've replanted all of them. And now 20 years later, they look like they're part of something that was here a long time ago. But that's the thing that you have to do. I don't want to ever fool anybody into believing when you do something that is this disruptive to the soil, that even a healthy tree will likely survive. We can avoid them for all we're worth, but I just want to make sure people understand that. Then we look at this tree survey, these trees are not healthy. I mean, Rusty can tell you, if you got a healthy tree, you stand a chance. You got an unhealthy tree, you probably don't. And so I'm just saying that out loud because it's important to say things that are probably true. I mean, we're going to try and say what we can, but I'm just not sure we'll be successful.
Has the city explored, or the developer, I should say, explored any sort of conservation development techniques, you know, where you're kind of minimizing the footprint of the development and maximizing the green space that's left?
Suggest to you that if you go out there and you look at what it's going to take to do that, that what you described is almost impossible to do unless you leave the landscape, the grading the way it is today. And if you leave it the way it is today, maybe you can do that, but you've also made it economically not viable. The problem we have with this site is it's on the side of a hill. It drops 60 feet in a matter of 500 feet. And when you do that, you can't do any kind of significant earth moving without disturbing everything. I mean, if we had a flat field, you might be able to do something like that, but it's the angle that we have. And then you get down into Shady Creek, which is a complete disaster ecologically. You should walk it. And you know, it's of such a degraded quality that when we brought the Corps of Engineers out, who never want us to touch anything, they're like, give us your plan, we can fix this. And so, yeah, we're going to work on that. And I think you're going to get a great end result. But I don't want to pretend we can create green space by avoiding things with the exception of where the church is. And we're doing what we need to do, but you can't do the kind of development we're doing on the side of a hill and make that come true. I'm sorry to say that.
I understand that, those thoughts. I appreciate those comments. We just, so you know, this commission has walked the creek before. I think we're all fairly intimate. We actually, the city's been great. They've got some revegetation, and we've been cleaning out honey. So we've been doing a lot of work in some of the green spaces to the east, or excuse me, to the north of there. So I think everybody's pretty familiar.
Up in Larson
What's-
Park, you mean?
No, along at Elm and Kirkham.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So I think we understand how rough it is. You know, and the diversity could definitely be improved. We also understand the habitat value of even that landscape. But I think it would be really great to hear from Rusty just generally about that tree inventory and some of the big species. And then I guess it might be nice to hear from the design team about, well, I'm a landscape architect by training, so I think a lot about design solutions on the other end of things. So I'm wondering what kind of, you know, it'd be great if this project really like led the way as far as developments and green infrastructure. You know, what kind of emphasis, maybe after Rusty's done, you could talk about that. What kind of emphasis you're placing on um, the green infrastructure that's going back into the project.
Rusty, you got
So-
anything you want to share?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I've been listening. Thank you all for this time here we have to review on a preliminary basis this project. At this point, what we've done is do a tree inventory per our understanding of the Webster Grove ordinances. We've done a few of these and have been involved with the review process primarily through Yvonne. But you guys may have seen other works, other projects that we've done. Just in summary, I did a little analysis of the species out there. 25% of the trees we inventoried were elm, either American elm or Siberian elm or some other kind of elm. About 17% of them black walnut, 14% ailanthus, 10% oak, 4.5% sycamore, 4.5% silver maple, and 7% catalpa. So there's not a lot of diversity in there, and these are of the trees of caliper that we were documenting. Obviously, there's woodland species and some understory plants and that sort of thing that are in there, but primarily that's the mix of things that are in there. A lot of what you're seeing on the upper side above the creek around the existing buildings, some are planted trees that were done specifically for the buildings that were done there, or the apartment or the office buildings or the warehouse manufacturing buildings. But then there's a lot of stuff that just sort of volunteered and grew up along fence lines and volunteered along the creek and along the edges of the slopes and that sort of thing. Was there anything in there that was astounding? No. Was there, is it typically what we generally see around urbanized creeks? I think so. And I think that those things are fairly typical. A lot of escape stuff that's sort of just grown up there and reached some size because it's been left alone and has endured the flooding or whatever. So the species that are out there are tolerant of that where they're at. So that's kind of my brief analysis of it. It was really designed to be more of an inventory. We did a little bit of a tree preservation plan based on a very preliminary plan that the civil engineer provided without a whole lot of detail into it. So it was really just the first pass at that based on information that was provided to us related to the extent of grading. And then also keeping in mind that that this project has a lot of evolving yet to do, and Larry can tell you more about that. So I think, it's really more of a data collecting sort of thing. My arborist, Brian, was out there in the creek, and I spent some time out there with him and together. So so I've been on the site. I understand it. So any questions about it, I'm happy to answer that, but I don't really know. I'm not really that involved with the development as it proceeds right now, and Larry would be the best guy to answer questions about design intent and spaces that are trying to be created and that sort of thing.
Rusty, I really appreciate your kind of breakdown on the dominant species there. Did you do any kind of breakdown on the quality of the?
I did not. It's, we gave them all condition ratings.
Yeah, what was the highest rating possible, and what was the highest that
Well, we give
you
it a-
assigned?
Well, 0 is dead and 100 is excellent, beautiful tree. I think we gave a few some of them 50%, but that was probably the highest.
Okay, so a majority of them were below 50.
Yes, majority is below 50. And like Larry pointed out, there's a lot of them that are growing on the sides of slopes, especially on the south side. And those that are on the south side of the creek are going to be subject to a lot of the creek redevelopment and managing that creek and doing that work. So I think that's going to have a high impact on the, especially everything south of the creek. And
Sure. Does anybody have any questions for Rusty? Anybody on the commission or Yvonne or Pam or?
Is it possible to visit the site and take a look, or is it privately owned?
It's all privately owned, but I walk the site at least once a week and no one ever says anything to me. So
Okay, I'll put a
out there.
safety vest
No
on.
one's gonna care. Yeah, no, I'd be a little cautious walking through the creek. There's lots of debris and stuff you can trip over in there. And the vast majority of the stuff right along the banks is really just honeysuckle, honestly.
Yeah.
But what Rusty did was the first step of what we are gonna do. And we needed to have somebody do the inventory because it's a basic requirement of the process going through. The next future steps are gonna involve engaging people like Rusty, and it may very well be him as we continue to put the planning together. But we need to take another major step first, which is a little chicken and egg thing with city council, is we need to get some idea of what, if they'll embrace what our development plan is, then we can employ the people that we want to make sure the green spaces are taken care of properly and that we do a great job of picking the right Missouri native species to go in and where they go and those kinds of things. We're not interested in paving everything over at all. We're interested in creating spaces that are focused on people and pedestrians and the street level experience. And that's going to mean a lot of green. At the same time, I just don't ever want to fool people that we can make things magically saved when they're in really quite bad shape. Rusty didn't say it, but I've seen enough of these things to know. And that the likelihood of being able to salvage is very small. And so my focus turns on what can we do to make the area better than what it is. And I think we can do lots of things, but it's hard for me to sit here and say this area is going to be this and this area is going to be that. And we haven't even gotten through the basic steps of the city of here's what we would embrace as a concept plan so we know what we can and can't do in terms of real planning. And so that's just sort of a chicken and egg problem we have right now. But we're happy to involve this commission in all those steps and do all of that, but we're just a little bit ahead of the game, sadly.
I have a question for Rusty. I wondered if this was an outside arborist or was this an arborist that's going to be involved in the planning?
The arborist that I used is a part-time employee of mine. So the level of involvement over future things would be entirely stipulated by the development agreement as to how much involvement that they would have. But I think I understand what you're saying, but it would be a person that would be involved on a continuing basis.
So it sounds like maybe Tessa, they just don't know the answer to that yet at this point.
We have not even engaged the team to design the green spaces because we aren't to a point where we can even say where to work. We don't even have a basic plan approval of any kind at the city council level yet. So that's our really next step, is to say, hey, if you'll let us build buildings and developments that look like this, then we'll finalize the plan for the infrastructure and deliver that to you. And then we'll include all of those questions that you're asking. But until we know whether we're building taller buildings with smaller footprints or shorter buildings with bigger footprints, we can't begin to tell you what that means.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Well, I know that it's not all planned out yet, but in the video, it looked like the creek was going to be bound by maybe a hard structure instead of a natural setting. And is that just on one side where where you're having the hill coming down for the walkway? Is there going to be kind of a natural bank on the lower side, or is it going to be walled in like a
I'll do the best to answer it that I can. So our current plan has a Great Rivers Greenway Trail on the south side of the creek. The creek meanders, and so where it goes right up against the rock, we'll probably have some sort of elevated platform because we'll be up against the rock anyway. As it meanders away, it'll be more natural and we'll have an outdoor setting. So at each section down the way, it's not going to be one monolithic look. It will be respecting the flow line of the creek, which we'll have to do, and then making our improvements around that so that we can both have the greenway on the south side and as much natural as we can. My hope is to turn what is now a intermittent city creek with debris all over the bottom into something that will look and feel like a natural habitat, which is not what it feels like today.
okay,
At
thanks.
all.
Yeah, I've walked it. I've taken lots of photos. It's choked by winter creeper, honeysuckle, vines all over the trees that exist there. It is in poor shape. I know that Webster Groves Nature Study Society has been putting out things fighting for the trees and green spaces
Right.
on even my Master Naturalist websites. And I have had to correct them that it's not 100% wonderful bird habitat. It's it looks really bad, and there is a lot of trash in there. And yeah, I agree with you. It's in really bad shape.
It's my belief, and the reason we reached out to the Corps of Engineers is you can't touch anything without their permission in a waterway like that. But it's my belief that we can do a combination of cleaning up the creek and actually going down and revegetating from the ground up and putting some velocity controls upstream so that we don't bring more trash in there every time we get a big rain, and actually have a habitat that's pretty nice, that, you know, can be a living experience for people to get down in, but certainly an education experience with the kinds of things that we plant. But it starts with, you know, knowing what you can do. We have a vague sense, then getting the approvals that we need, which involve the Corps. It also is going to involve us, frankly, modifying the FEMA maps because they're all wrong. We've learned. We've done enough research now to know that the flood maps are just not right. And so we're going to have a lot of work to do in that regard. So, but between the regulatory portion of it, which is MSD, SEMA, and FEMA, and the local enforcement part, which is, I presume, you and the city, you know, we'll find a way to get it right.
Any other questions for Rusty or Larry?
Okay.
Okay, you know,
Who do we carry? Who do we reach out to if we want to share? Obviously, we're going to see a lot of Pam over the next year. I mean, who do we reach out if we want to, you know, coordinate with this commission?
well, I think it would be me at this point. And I think you did reach out to Tessa Wasserman. We were at a point in transition
Okay.
between an old chair and myself. She was kind of an interim chair. But it would be me, and we would love the opportunity to be, you know, kept involved in the process.
And we will do that.
Can you just talk, I know in the slide presentation that Liz provided me, it explained sort of the public engagement that has happened and what you guys had heard and, you know, what people want to see there. And there was some information about, from what I could tell, there was consensus about sustainability.
Correct.
Can you talk about maybe some of those ideas about, the city right now, currently the Parks Department, they have a lot to do with a little money. I know you know that.
Right.
And they are, they maintain Larson Park and Barbary Park, which are adjacent to sort of this property. And I think all these folks who are going to live in this development are going to be impacting those two parks. And I think the city's currently, maybe Pam can answer this question, the city's currently going to be doing an impact statement or an impact study. Is that right, Pam?
Yes. Yeah, we have
Okay.
a firm that's doing feasibility and impact studies. We're just
So
waiting for more information to come.
Okay, so they're gonna look at hopefully, how this load of people is gonna impact traffic, but also business and hopefully the park system as well. So I think, I don't know, I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind, that this is gonna impact other green spaces. It is gonna minimize the amount of green space in the area, but I think that the green space that remains can be pretty high quality green space if it's planned that way. So Larry, I'm just wondering, with sustainability as sort of something that's important to the design and the process, have you thought about, some of these things that may not be, like, I don't know, like silva cells or structural paving to provide root volume for any new trees that go in, or bioretention areas, or, has the design team talked about any of those kind of strategies, which don't always cost less, right? Sometimes they cost more, but that's the right way to handle the new development. And I was just wondering what the thought process has been there.
So other than to tell you that our focus is on the public spaces, which would include the green streetscapes, and the way we do that, we don't just we just don't put a hole in the ground and plant a tree in it. You create an area for the root system to grow. We've got tons of experience showing how much healthier the street trees are and those kinds of things. And then we use graded covers so that the water can get in, the trees can breathe, and then you still have the public space that you want in areas that you need it, and create the green spots that you'll have. And we'll employ all of those kinds of things, but you need to do that on a case-by-case basis. The way we're doing this is we're proposing what amounts to an infrastructure plan now. So you can imagine there's 15 acres there now. There's absolutely zero control on stormwater today, zero. Nothing is managed or controlled. And so we will capture all of that water, and we will run it through a water quality and stormwater detention system. Now, the vast majority of it will be subsurface, will be in pipes or in systems that occur below the earth, because there's not a lot of room to do it in big ponds. But you'll accomplish both water runoff controls and water quality in those. And then we'll also capture water for reuse in some areas. But once the infrastructure's in, then we're going to have paths for probably 8 projects, maybe 10. But we've set it up so that on the street we can have individual projects that are a lot like Webster's History, where one looks like this and is developed by this guy, one looks like that. Each is individually architecturally done, and so each one of those sites will be planned to mesh in with our infrastructure that's set up to accept all of that. We will focus a lot on water quality in the creek, but sustainability means a lot of different things to a lot of people. In your case, I think it probably means more green stuff. In other people's cases, it might mean, solar equipment. It might mean other things. And so we're going to introduce a scoring sheet for each project. People like the idea of LEED. We're not enamored with everything being LEED, because LEED has done what so many institutionalized things happen. It doesn't always fit its locale anymore. And so we will create a scorecard that will get us a better grade than necessarily a LEED designation, but we might end up with LEED, we may not, we don't know. But for 15 years, I forced my clients to take LEED built buildings. I don't do that anymore because we can do better than LEED today, just because of the way they've created their rules that don't fit our environment anymore, you know? So all I can tell you is that we're going to work on this responsibly and that we'll include you in the process, but we've got a long way to go planning wise with the city. And we need to know the city's going to embrace the things that we need to invest further in the project. And so, you know, we're at that point where we're going to work with the city to either keep the ball rolling or not very, very soon.
Do the green spaces we're talking about are public spaces? Do those become city property, city
Well,
maintained?
Right now, we haven't decided that. They could be if they wanted them, but if the city has budget problems, they may want us to just let people use it and keep it private and manage it through our common area system. You know, we don't know that. The city will have to tell us what they want to do. I'm happy to turn these spaces over. I'm happy to operate them also. Then there'll be gray areas. I don't even know who owns. I assume the right of way under the sculpture park is owned by the city. Does the Parks Department take care of that, or is the group that does something else take care of that? I don't even know.
I believe the parks, yeah, the Parks Department takes care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, you know, yeah, that's something for the city to consider.
We'll work through that with the leadership of the city as time goes on, and I'm sure we'll get the result that everybody wants.
Okay. Any other questions, Linda or Jerry or Ginger?
I mean, I'm
Jerry, I would-
sure
Go ahead, Larry.
we'll have something like this happen again in the future when the time's appropriate. In the meantime, if you have questions for someone like Rusty or anybody on our team, send them and we'll get them responded to. Happy to do that. You know, wish we were a little farther along so we could talk about things more granularly, but we're just not there yet. But hopefully we'll be there soon.
Ginger, what were you asking?
Sorry, my child is trying to talk to me. I'm good.
Get that.
Mhm.
Did you have a question? No, okay.
Hey,
All
Carrie,
right.
this is Liz. I would encourage everyone to go to our website if you haven't yet. We do have a link to our video and all of our town hall presentations. If you have any questions after reviewing that, you know, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure that we get you with the right people to
Yeah,
continue the conversation.
Yeah, I forwarded those links you sent me, Liz. I
okay.
appreciate that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, Pam or Yvonne, is there anything else we need to cover here?
I don't think so for me. At some point, it will cross my desk for review, so.
That's true.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time. And yeah, we appreciate your time and giving us the time to ask the questions and express the concerns we have.
I get it.
Yes, thank you all for your time and
Thanks,
willingness
Pam.
to come attend this meeting.
Yeah.
No,
sounds
well, thank you
good.
guys for what you do. We appreciate it.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Yvonne.
Absolutely.
Stay warm.
All right,
Bye.
take care. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody good?
I'm good.
All right. See ya.